all the weight, but leave some of the length, and I'm going to do a little bit of disconnection with these pieces back here.
So you've got one you've previously done.
I think this is like a French bob, so we don't have much length in the back to work with. It's a bit of an undercut under there. So what I want to do is just kind of like layer that out and just give a really nice head hugging shape, kind of like a mullety mini shag, and then layer this top part up really close so that we have more like accentuation and like the head hugging shape here. Cool. So move that weight line and push it up that way.
Awesome.
That's what I'm going to do.
All right. And then I'm going to cut this one. And I'm going to do a combination. I'm going to do round layering. I'm going to do triangular layering. So I'm going to create a diamond layered haircut. Katie's going to film. Thank you all. All right.
Who's starting?
Ladies first.
Oh, wow. First of all, happy birthday, DJ. Yay!
Thank you very much.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of layering this out, just like following the head shape all the way up. I know at the end I want to keep these pieces disconnected just because I want to accentuate that little bit of flip behind the ear. So I'm going to start layering back here using like the point of the length, like right at the occipital bone, and use that as I like come forward into the top. So I'm going to work on this panel first, and then I'm going to move over into the sides and use the length right here as my guide to work up into this. So I'm going to start here, pulling straight out from the head and then just following that around. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be using my razor today, of course. And start with this center back section. I'm kind of feeling where that dip of the head is. Start there. That's where my guide's going to be. And then pulling out of the head, I'm going to be kind of coming underneath and up and over here. Taking kind of big, like a really big stroke in there to create a lot of texture and space. And then moving with it as I come around the head there.
Someone said kind of like a 90-degree haircut.
Yeah, because I'm pulling this all 90 degrees out, at least in this section back here. And then, I'll be pulling that 90 degrees out in the sides as well. And then moving on to my next section. So just straight out of the head all the way around until these disconnected points here. And then only holding on to really what I can like fit in my hands, and just clip that away because that's my next subsection. I'm checking the over direction and then going to be going underneath with like the center of the razor. And following that all the way through, checking my over direction, making sure I'm right on top of the section that I'm holding. I like how this weight, that's going to accentuate into that disconnected pieces. So just going over to this side, because I usually do one and one, and I kind of work my way out to the sides here.
Is it a traveling guide?
No, because I'm using the guide from down here and following that around. So that's already established with what was cut before. So would that be a traveling guide? No, I think that's just...
What are we doing?
The traveling, yeah, they asked if this was a traveling guide, but I'm using that hair from underneath to tell me which way to go. So I don't think it's really traveling.
It would if you were working it that way originally, yes.
Right.
You've already established your... Okay, I'm ready to jump in there.
To be filmed.
Just to get started. Alright, so I'm going to work on 2 two different shapes. I'm going to work on triangular layers and round layers. Both going to be concave. And I wanted to do this because somebody asked me if I would show, because I talked about combining different shapes and achieving, you know, something different. So what this is going to do is it's obviously going to be lighter in the back, get heavier towards the front, and then it's going to be lighter in the front and get heavier towards the back. So when I put those two together, horizontally, what it's going to do is it's going to leave a peak of weight, a corner, somewhere in this area, if I do it correctly. And if I do it to the right length that I need, then it's going to be in that weaker area where, you know, we have less hair in this area. So it's a really nice fun shape, and it's kind of like combining a layered bob with a shag in a sense. So what I just did really quickly is I just established the perimeter length in the back. And I've gone with that kind of collarbone-ish kind of length. So around this area. Obviously, if you wanted an uninterrupted line, then you would have to bring this up above the shoulders to keep it, you know, that line all the way consistent all the way through. So just switching this up, I'm leaving it a little bit longer. So if this was on someone, there would be an element of flick in there. So again, once you get that flick on the edges, that can also influence what's on the inside. So the first thing I've done is I've sectioned off the head, put that quick outline in the back. I've not done anything in the front and the side. We'll address that later. I'm just going to work through now with vertical sectioning. And what I want to do is I want to protect the length I've just created. So I know that to create and protect that length all the way through, even in this area where there's less hair, I need to make sure that my layers are cut at that level where that hairline is. And if you think of and look at this, when I go backwards with the comb, that hairline is actually in line with the occipital ridge. So the length of the occipital ridge is going to be my guide. And that's pretty universal for any situation where you want to keep and protect that outline all the way through. You want to make sure that you don't layer below this area. Body position, I'm stood parallel to what I'm doing, so making sure that my feet are in the right place. Again, if I move my feet off place, I'm going to pull the hair to a different position than what I wanted. So I've got to place myself in the correct place all the time. Using the length of the occipital ridge, and I have options here. I can cut quite a flat line if I want to. And what that's going to do is going to leave more weight in this crown area and leave more weight to fall down here, all right? So I want this to be a little bit more lighter than that. So instead of cutting this more of a flat layer, I'll actually cut a layer that's going to follow the contour of the head shape. So I'm following the crown from the occipital bone up. I'm literally cutting this line right here that you see, that curvature of the head shape. And that's allowing me to remove more weight than if I was to just pull this straight back to that wall over there and cut a flat line. It's going to leave more weight in this area. So again, it's personal preference. It's what you're after. Maybe cut the heaviest first, see what it looks like, see what it does for you. You know, learn from actually experimenting and seeing what things do. Because you can always cut more hair off. So from experience, I know that if I come through like this, I'm going to get the result that I'm looking for. I'm going to keep that edge, and I'm going to get quite a lot of weight removal on the inside. I'm going to over-direct the hair straight back, not into the first section. That would be too much over-direction right now. I think it would get too heavy too quickly, horizontally towards the front. So I'm just pulling it straight back. And I'm staying within the same body position all the way through. So again, straight back. Everything straight back. So my body position is going to really help me to do that. Also being able to look down on that section, so having the mannequin or client not so high up, bringing them down lower so you can actually see the top of that section and you can see the direction that you're actually moving in. That's going to help you. Also, put the mirror here, on this wall right here, so you can look in the mirror and you can see exactly where those sections are being taken.
We have a question. It says like a mix of a Shag and 180 with forward graduation.
A lot of different techniques you've just mentioned in that. No forward graduation. A lot of people tend to think that face framing pulled forward is graduation. It can't be graduation if it's shorter on the inside and longer on the exterior. It has to be the opposite. The exterior is shorter and the interior is longer. So it's just really that is more of a concave layer throughout the front. But yeah, it's definitely got the shag element because it's going to be quite heavily layered. So a classic shag is more of a round shape, so it's really quite heavy in the back, right? And that sometimes doesn't look the greatest when you're looking at somebody's profile. Shags look amazing with this view, right? But if you turn that view, sometimes this is so flat back here, and it's really difficult to get any body and width in there because the hair's longer in the back, it's heavier. So putting these two together, it's a really nice combination because then you'll get the shagginess in the back like you'll have in the front.
All right, what are you doing?
I'm moving over to the sides now, so I'll show you. So on the back, there's no button. Okay, there we go. I layered that all out, so that's nice and flat this way, but then these are still my disconnected pieces, so I'm just kind of gonna clip them out of the way for now and then do like some visual blending at the end with the razor. And then now I'm gonna be moving into the sides. This is all my like fringe section and just the top of the hair. I'm waiting till I get to the end to see what I'm gonna do with this, but I'm assuming I'm just gonna layer this up following that with the round shape, and I wanna take the fringe kind of short there. So coming in here, trying to keep my sections really clean and just keep my disconnection out of the way so that I don't grab it on accident. I'm gonna be coming in right over the top of the ear here and using that length that's right at the weak point at the top of the ear here, using that length as my guide, kind of similar to how I did in the back. And just following that head shape from going bottom to up. So let me turn this way. Some good light here. Okay.
We got a lot of questions about your shirt and where you got it.
Oh my gosh, I got it on. I got pulled in by an Instagram ad.
Yeah, I did that too.
It was totally worth it. This shirt has been a
mine.
hit, and thank you very much. It's got all the Bowies on it. So I got it from the internet. I don't even remember because the rest of the website had like rugs for sale, not even other like t-shirts. So you know, it was a treasure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all rugs and Bowie shirts.
Rugs and shirts. One Bowie shirt. Okay, so now pulling straight out of the head, and then I can see my guide right here. I'm gonna have to go in underneath with my body position and kind of standing in front of the face, but then I'm gonna be using my elbow to kind of help give me that like round shape with the razor here. So coming in underneath, let that a little bit of that drops out. And moving with it as I'm going around the head. So really this part last time was a one length, or it was the front part of a bob. So all of this, what we have right now is the weight is sitting down here. And what I'm trying to do is kind of more evenly distribute it and leave like a little bit of length around the perimeter to give all those like flickies and flips and mullety, shaggy type of feel. It's in between those two, like a mini shag. Because I don't think there's enough party back here to make it like a full mullet.
Right.
Alright. So Phil Collins?
Yeah.
In the background, I can hear that. That's not us. Somebody else.
Someone's jamming.
Someone like on a bike or something.
Is it a bike?
I don't know.
They cruising? Downtown.
Someone just got dumped. Ultimate dump pitch song, isn't it? Sometimes the boombox guy.
So So knowing that this was my guide section, I'm just kind of working back and forth to kind of build that as opposed to going all the way over. I find for me as a stylist, it keeps me more balanced as I'm going through the haircut. And then as I'm building the haircut too, I can kind of feel when it's getting either a little long or maybe not going as the right way. So I still have some flexibility as I'm moving through the haircut, going back and forth between the sections to analyze and potentially have a game change. Because that does happen sometimes. Over to the top.
Okay, so I've worked through the back with my vertical sections, pulling everything straight back, and now I'm just coming through and cross-checking to see my over direction and making sure that we're pulling them straight back. And that's what we're seeing on that line. And now I can connect this to it. What I don't want to do is just do this and then come through the front now and try and meet those two together. I'd actually like to just consistently take all of this off and keep it triangular, and then I'll work round through the front into the back afterwards. So that I'm not trying to meet a specific point in that. If I want to meet a specific point, then I'll do it that way. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue my sectioning through into the top, into the front now. So what was vertical in the back, right, isn't vertical in the top, it's different. So a vertical section in the top is going to be like this, right? So I'm now going to go working through into horizontal sections. So this line that I cut now is actually the shape of my haircut. So it's the weight flowing from back to front. So what I've done is I've achieved the flow of weight that I've got by pulling the hair straight back to that wall behind the mannequin, not into the middle. If I'd have brought it into the middle, then I would have a very drastic drop off of weight to the front. So, you know, that's what's going to happen. So you can use that if you wish. Sometimes it's always nice to start with the heaviest and then have a look, and you can always take it down a little bit more, so that you're not, you know, cutting too much off at once. You work your way down, and you'll learn from stuff like that, because you'll go, oh, okay, that doesn't look good, but it's going to look good in this situation. So, yeah. So let's connect this through now, all the way through. Again, this is always one of those issues when you come through into the top as to, you know, can you reach this? Are you able to reach to that longer length through there? I'm able to reach that because I'm dropping the elbow. If I keep the elbow in the air, then there is a limit that I have, and that's not the most comfortable situation for me. So if I drop the elbow, I can still keep that angle all the way through to the front. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I pull the hair straight out through here. I'm not just going to lift that straight up and then try and use this as a guide. I'm going to use that as a guide back here, straight out from the head. I don't want to create any corners in this area, and I don't want to cut too much off. So I just continue that steady angle, getting heavier or longer towards the front. Now if I over-directed the hair straight backwards, then my elevation through here must be straight up to the ceiling to keep it consistent. If I'd have brought everything in the back to the center, then I would have to pull everything into the center here as well, so that the flow of weight is fluid all the way through.
Kenny says happy birthday.
Thank you, Kenny. Is that Kenneth?
Rock and roll Kenny.
Rock and roll Kenny. Thanks for singing happy birthday to me yesterday, mate. I loved it. I have a recording of it, but Wayne only caught the last 10 seconds, which is the most important part. So.
Someone said, I missed the beginning. What haircut are we doing today?
So I am currently in the middle of cutting a triangular layer. I've established a length about that much longer than the shoulder would be. And what I've done is I've used that length as the guide. So I've used the guide from the occipital ridge, and I've taken that corner off. I've followed the head shape. So I've got my guide for the layers from my outline. You know, the other week I skipped the outline, didn't I? I didn't do anything with the outline. I just went into the inside. I did triangular versus round. And the reason why I left the outline was because I wanted it softer. And if I don't want it soft, then I will start with the outline and I will have to use it as a guide. So that's the difference between starting on the inside and starting on the outline, is the strength of what you're trying to achieve. And so what I'm doing is I'm now taking this through into the front, and I'm still keeping with my triangular shape. My sections are over directed straight back and are elevated straight up through the front area. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to, after this, we're going to come through and create what's known as a diamond layered haircut. So to do that, I have to combine two shapes. So right now I'm creating triangular layers, and then I'm going to come through and I'm going to create round layers. The two of those put together keeps the weight in this area, not all back here like a round layer would do, and not all through here like a triangular layer would do. It's a nice balance. It takes weight out of here, takes weight out of here, but leaves it where it's the weakest through this area.
And then what are you doing?
I'm on the left side now.
To the right.
Moved over. Yeah, so just following that around. This is the completed right side. I'll show you here. And so as I'm looking at it, what I'm seeing is that this is still very dense in this section, but instead of going in and like changing my layering,
Sorry, method.
I'm gonna wait until I go into the fringe and then kind of blend that in with the fringe. So I don't want to get, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this feels heavy, but I don't want to get ahead of myself because I want to keep it balanced and know that around the face I want to save some hair to work with when we get to the end. So back over to here. So same thing, just taking these sections and using that hair from underneath to tell me where I'm going to start layering and following the head shape with my fingers here. And also kind of like with the razor, you can have a little bit more movement too as you're with the hand that's holding the hair. So I'm going to be moving with it as I come around, making sure that I'm like following it all the way around and not trying to get too like flat, a lot of jagged edges here. Coming into that front hairline. This last section, I'm gonna over direct just slightly, just so that it gives me a little bit of hair to work with when I'm going in with the face framing and the fringe. And I also am keeping in mind that this hairline, there is a big divot here, and then another divot right there, right by the sideburn. So just wanting to maintain be in as much control of the hairline as possible as I'm taking all of the weight out from it. That's gonna keep it from kicking out on me. Around. This last section, so same thing, just over directing slightly back into my previous section. That way it's just securing that I can have full control when I'm doing the fringe and the face framing, because it's easier to take care of. There's this guy over here. So leaving just a little bit of a tip there. I want to pull this straight up out of the head, and then I just kind of pinch it between my fingers if it's less than an inch, just so that I don't slice anything I don't want to. Okay.
Just coming through the other side, doing the same thing. So bringing that through to the front, everything up to the ceiling. Combing the side of the section that's about to be cut, not combing the guide. So making sure that I'm pushing the hair to the guide and not from it. What I don't want to do is I don't want to move the guide. If you move the guide, then the guide's now shorter. So you won't be cutting at the correct length if you do that. So you've got to be careful with that. Remember, whenever you comb the hair, it moves. It doesn't. The comb doesn't magically appear in the section. You've got to put it in there, so that's an immediate movement, whichever side you comb. So being aware of what you're doing with your guideline is extremely important. So you can see now that flow of weight, lighter in the back, getting heavier towards the front. I didn't do anything with the outline in the front. I only cut my length in the back, and I always like to do that because it kind of leaves a little bit more if I need to. This would work really well with a triangular layered shape. I could create a much softer outline with this through the front. But again, we're not going to do a triangular layer, even though it looks great. That's an option, of course, but what we want to do is we want to combine the two. Because right now, what this does is it just pushes weight forward. So it's going to close in that person's face, right? That's the whole point of triangular shapes. It keeps the weight through the front, so it makes our faces look leaner. And round opens up the face, so it'll make it look a little bit wider. So what we're going to do is kind of accentuate this now in here. But what I want to do is I don't want to alter any of this in the back. And so I'm now going to combine the two. So whereas we've got this going on, I'm now going to come through and do this. So I'm going to section it off according to a round shape now. What I didn't do is section it into 4 parts, just like a standard 4 sectioning, because I'm not doing a standard haircut. You know what I mean? I'm having to work according to the shapes I'm working with. So my sectioning to begin with was working with that triangular balance of the head shape. Now I'm going to work with the round balance of the head shape. So I'm going to work from the apex, and I'm going to take that down to right behind the ear there. Basically what that is, guys, is that's a ridge of the head shape. So if I put my comb on there, it touches. That's a peak. And it follows all the way down to there. So this part of the head shape is pivotal because it's actually literally pivotal. It's where the head shape changes. So it's curving this way. From that point, it curves backwards. It curves backwards. So understanding the terrain that we're working on so that I can cut what's necessary and work with the right flow of what I'm trying to achieve.
Okay. Now we're going to do some fringe area. So I use my comb to kind of find where the dip of this goes down into the forehead there. And then also just use like shaking it around to see what hair is trying to clump together, what wants to live forward and what wants to live on the side here. So I'm going to go a little bit looser as I put in this fringe and just kind of base it upon like how this texture is laying and where it's wanting to clump together. So kind of similar. So just seeing where this hair wants to be, not fighting it too much, you know, similar to what DJ was saying, that, you know, you want the hair to look good. You don't want to mess with it too much because you want to see, you don't want to have to be involved so much. So this is how I'm seeing the hair clump together. So I'm going to start here to cut my fringe. And I kind of want to go for that, like, you know, fang, like it looks almost like shark or snake fangs kind of in the front where they just split right there. So that's what I'm going to go for here. This guy. I also want to give it kind of a clunky, chunky look. So I'm just going to twist it and then use like the heel of my razor here because that part's the most sharp. And just kind of tuck it in and twist it as I go. So this one. So now I went short to long with this one, so then I'll go short to long with this one as well. Short starting like right above where the length of that piece is, and then going into a little bit longer than that, just to give it a little bit of definition. And this guy will go a little bit longer. I can see at the root here, this is having a little bit of kick to it. So I'm gonna let that kick happen and then mark it with my finger as where that's hitting, where I want it to hit. And then when I pull, you can see how much of a difference that is. So knowing that, I'm gonna start a little longer with this piece. So that now when that hairline kicks it, it falls just right into place.
Chunky.
Chunky clunky. Just kind of visually tapping it in.
As you do.
Tap it.
All right, so I'm gonna do some stuff. So we've got the front now, the round part of it. So here's what I would do if I was using this as my meeting point. I would use that. I could come through and pull that slightly forward. I'm going to leave this much heavier this way. And there's my guide right there. That top hair right there. That's the hair from the apex. So I can use that as a point of reference. And I cut this front off. So what that does is it's kind of like when I work the crown. So the line that I cut here is going to determine how heavy those bangs or how heavy those fringe lay. So obviously this, if I'm using that as a point, right, that is utilizing what length we've got in the layers through the back here. So I'm literally falling in the same spot now. So I can even the two together by working from that spot. Now, like I said earlier, I don't have to use that. If I want to go shorter with the fringe, I can do. But obviously it's going to push the weight even further back. So if you go too short with the fringe, then you're going into mullet territory, right? Which is not a scary territory to be, because a mullet is basically, it's a shag. It's just closer to the head shape. So, you know, it's personal preference on what you're after. And you can also come in and you can completely disconnect the fringe. It doesn't have to be connected to anything else that we've got going on. So you could have a much shorter fringe. I'm going with connection, so I'm going to work through this way. If I don't like it, I'll go shorter. But I'm going to see what it looks like first. I don't have another client waiting, so we've got time to experiment here. And it's my birthday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push everything into that first one. So it's actually kind of like an elevation pushing into this first one through here. But then I'm obviously lower through here. So there's over directions and there's elevations going on here.
Ben Brown says hi and happy birthday.
Hi Ben, how you doing, pal? It's kind of English weather outside here today. We've got some nice April showers.
The San Diego winter.
The San Diego winter. Everyone's freaking out. They don't know how to drive. And obviously, that's face framing, isn't it? So I'm kind of working a very even, consistent layer. So look at the profile. Right, so there's my layers falling in the back. And what I'm doing is I'm achieving a very similar balance to it in the front. And so that's going to leave the weight more in this area. So diamond layers. Obviously you go shorter to the head shape if you want to. You can go longer, right? Experiment and see what they all look like. So everything forward. And into that first one. We have to say happy birthday to Buddy too, don't we?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, bud.
My little doggy was 16 a couple of days ago. Hanging in there like a complete trooper.
He's so
He
cute.
is very cute. And he has no teeth.
So here's that front face framing section I did on this side. I left my harder side to do while we were filming, so that's good.
Good job.
Yeah, I think that looks cute. All right. So as I was analyzing the fringe here, I was looking at where the hair was laying, and this piece wants to be in her eyes, so I'm going to connect that into the fringe so that it doesn't fall in her face all the time. So loosening up that growth pattern and the kick in the hairline, and knowing that I want to fall even with this one. So eyebrows, her eyebrows are pretty even. That's nice. So just gently picking it up, not pulling on it too much, and then I'm going to pull this down, so about there. I'm going to go from short into long there. Yeah. Now combing the rest of this down into natural fall, you can see that that piece now isn't like hanging in her face. So now I kind of want to create like a little bit of a pocket for these fringe to kind of kick into. So I'm going to take this small section here in front of the hairline, pulling that forward, and you can see where my guide is from the fringe. And so I want to take this shorter to longer, so then that place has that little fringe area has a place to sit. So this is my target, is where I'm going. So I'm going to start in shorter. Now bending the hair to see where the curve is. I'm going to start just right below that. Then big open stroke into that piece there. That just opens up that cheekbone area there, and then gives these pieces a place to kind of sit, and there's not as much hair kind of pushing them forward into the face there.
That's one of my favorite things. With that little thing right there.
It expands the face so much, and it makes it so that, like, you know, people who have a hard time styling their fringe, it just kind of
do it and it fits in there, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's perfect for that.
It's like C shaping, right, or C carving, like an exaggeration of that.
So it just flips in.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's the same thing. So remembering, here's my fringe point here. Checking where that bend of the hair is, and then going. This is kind of like at the low recession of that hairline. Coming into that. And now I'm feeling like this is a little bit of a heavy sideburn, so I'm gonna go kick out this way to take out some of that weight into the sideburn. So there's my short section that I started with, so I just want to kick out a little bit of that hair here in the sideburn. Coming in and pulling up. So we keep all of the length, but it just kind of opens all of that up. So we have and it dips in and then flips out again. And then pivoting off of that triangle section, just into the stuff that falls into the face, really. So there. Checking the bend. So now I still have all of this. I haven't cut anything on the top here. Now what I want to do is connect this short piece from the fringe here, the top of that triangle that I sectioned for the fringe, to this piece here, which is the top of the crown. So I am going to go just straight across that way and blend those in together.
So I kind of just finished both sides of there. I just kind of want to show you what I've done. Because I might go in there and want to take more off that front and go in with a proper fringe, not this face frame. Obviously, this is a great alternative. You don't have to always go in with the fringe. But now we can really come in there a bit more and treat it more like a shag haircut. Essentially, that's what I've just done. It's just longer, and how I did that was by working horizontal sections and pulling them forward and cutting that line on. Now I could have done the same thing by just taking vertical down the back sections and coming in and just doing a real standard face frame and using the elevation that I used to cut it. So I would have been up here so that it would be lighter than if I was, say, down here and pulling everything forward onto and down onto that. So the other way of doing it is to do it this way, and that's how I cross-checked it. I was taking the opposite angle section, pull it to that elevation it was cut, and I can see short to long. How's that being created? By pushing this into number one, like so. And that all the way through, and what happens is I run out of hair right at the apex because that's what I used. That's where the head shape changes. So symmetrically I've got a nice diamond shaped haircut going on here. But I want to go a little bit lighter in this area, so I'm going to resection that front area. I'm going to do it a little bit different.
You're
So I'm
almost done.
Almost. I still got some detailing to do, but what I'm doing here is just taking these sections like this and then just pulling them straight up to the ceiling. I decided that I wanted to go the back to the front as opposed to front to back because I want this hair to kind of push forward a little bit, so I'm using that shortness that was in this crown to help me give it a little bit more push forward. If I went this way, it might just create more volume around the fringe, where we want that to be a little bit flatter and use any of the weight left from the crown here.
Back to front to back. Isn't that like an Aaliyah song?
That sounds so like 90s to me.
Are you talking about Baby Girl?
I like it.
Baby Girl Aaliyah?
Aaliyah.
R.I.P.
Ooh, nice. Texture. Alright,
Yeah.
I'm coming through now and I'm going to take this shorter. So, our curtain fringe enthusiasts, this is a great way of achieving it. So now I'm going to turn this layered bob into a legitimate shaggy bob. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change my elevation. I'm going to take more weight out of this front area. I'm going to hit the target point of where I want my length to fall. So I know I'm going to start a little bit heavier, and I'm cutting a line that follows the curvature of the head shape. So I'm following the slope of the head shape through that frontal area, and I'm going to look at where that falls, and that's a nice area right there on that cheekbone. So we're going to work from that now. Obviously you can come in and customize it afterwards. I'm just building the house first and then I can decorate it later. So the structure comes first before the aesthetics. Taking that all the way through. I'm using my HB Pro, what we're calling these, AG 55s today. I've been using them for the last few weeks. I'm really enjoying them. Got the little nice shape on the holes, scissor holes there, and no tang. I took the tang off so that I can really use them. It feels like I'm back in the 90s again. Just simplifying what we're doing again. Not just with the haircuts, but with the tools that we're using. So one thing that I wanted to talk about is we're going to do a class with Kelly.
Yay!
We're going to do a virtual class to start off with, and then we're going to do a hands-on class that's here in San Diego. So it is, razor focused, using whatever razor you're comfortable with using, and we should expect the first class that we're going to do we're going to do one in June, the first virtual one, and then we'll announce that. It'll be relatively inexpensive class, just like most of our virtual classes are quite affordable for you guys, and again it will be recorded and you can keep a copy of the class as well. But I think it'd be nice to bring a little bit more razor into, little bit more knowledge about it instead of just what we're doing on these KDF lives. So breaking it down, we'll be doing about 3 different looks in that class, all very salon friendly, very now friendly, not even just salon friendly, what everybody's wearing and stuff like that. So, you know, Bob's, Shags and Pixies and that kind of stuff. So yeah, Razor 101.
Really like client suitable, salon suitable type of haircuts.
Stuff that you're doing on your clients every day.
Yeah, and more kind of, I think just more like a deeper dive into like how to use the tool and how to get comfortable with it. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to teach a class and just nerd out and do haircuts all day. So it's almost my finished look. I'm just doing a little bit of detailing here, just kind of breaking up some of the thicker parts here on the fringe. I'm liking, as I'm looking at this, just analyzing the haircut, I feel like this is a little swole. So I want to like thin that down a little bit so that, you know, we can open up that ear and open up that jawline a little bit more. So I'm just going to kind of go in, let me turn Tina Turner.
Tina Turner. I was gonna say it.
Got it. Okay, so now just analyzing the hair again, right? The way that the hair is separating. Oh, this is kind of wanting to go forward above the ear. And this is part of that.
We got a hi, mommy.
Oh, hi,
Oh,
boys.
that's cool.
Hi,
Go back to
boys.
school. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
So I really want to take out a lot of that like fullness that we have here. So I'm just going to take this section right over the ear. And then following that bend of the hair, so it's starting right there. That's where I'm going to start going in with my razor. And then I'm just going to really skinny that out.
it looks cute.
Thanks. Into there. So that just leaves all of that softness of the length around the hairline, but it removes that, you know, the weight, the fullness of it. So it's not so puffy on the sides.
Earmuffs.
Earmuffs, or the Cocker Spaniel look.
We're streaking. That's so good. I'm 3 Speaker Cities.
So that's a little bit of a disconnection too. So now that lays much flatter and you get a little bit of like peephole with that ear here, but it's left all of that perimeter length. So I like to do this one and they're like, I really like how long my hair is. And you're like, well, look at all this length you have.
So long.
Very lengthy. So what I'm doing, guys, is I've come through, taking a little bit shorter. My elevation is everything into that first section. You know, you're going to hear people say over direction, and I understand you are technically directing the hair in a different way, but if you think about what you're doing, it's up and down. Elevators go up and down, so it's elevation. I'm elevating above 90 degrees into that first section. So I'm creating a concave layer through here. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping this length down here, and I can condense because it's a stationary guideline. It's a very simple haircut to do this. Or you can simplify it. You know, it can be complex as well. So obviously you could see I layered through a lot more there because you can see quite a bit of weight being taken off through there. But what that's done is it's kept my length that I've achieved. But I've layered through that front a lot heavier, more heavily. And it's going to start to do its thing now, which is quite nice. Let the mannequin's texture do its thing.
I see that too, like everybody just kind of embracing their texture a little bit more in salons.
It makes our life so much
Oh my
easier,
God,
doesn't it?
right?
No blow dry. Thank you. That's good. Or just that air dry with your hands, the air styling that you do. That's fantastic.
scrunch and a move.
Oh yeah, we do this.
It's like an influence more than a
Yeah.
whole styling.
It's literally like teasing the hair.
Just
Just a little influence
a little
here and
bit.
there.
Yeah.
So just connecting these two shapes together now because I went shorter with that fringe, so there's quite a bit more weight to take off and to meet through into that back area. So this allows me to layer it more. So I wanted to show you the options of the weight removal that you can use. And that's the thing, is just being able to experiment, to try different things so that you start to understand what's controlling what and what your options are and whether you like that or not. You know, I did learn from mistakes. You know, you do learn from making a mistake, because you learn, like, okay, I won't do that again in this situation. But wait a minute, I just figured out how to do that, so I can use it in something else. So, yeah. It's a mistake to your client, but it's a discovery for you, isn't it? So it's also a discovery to them. Discover that you sucked at that particular moment.
I never knew my hair could do that.
It's really good in Europe.
Just a little flip enhancer here. Just flipping that out. Yeah. I think they're ready.
I think I like it.
I think, yeah. Stop when you like it.
Don't
Don't over, yeah. Don't keep going. But I like it. I like that, you know, the little flickies here and the bangs. I like that chunky, kind of heavier feel. It's a nice profile here. Good head shape. And then these are the disconnected pieces that really just kind of give it that like long or mini shag kind of mullety shape. And then I like this in the back too. That's a kind of more head hugging around, right? Because we use that occipital bone to enhance it, but we got these little disconnected pieces, so I think it gives it kind of like a modern feel to it.
She's cute.
She's
Very
cute.
nice. That's lovely.
Thank you. So that's it. There's no product in her hair right now. I'm just gonna let this dry, and I'll post pictures of it on my Instagram, and you
I'll
know,
pop it on mine.
keep an eye out for our razor class because I'm very excited.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah. Ta-da.
Ta-da!
Any questions about the cut before?
Not yet.
Okay.
Everyone just said it's so beautiful. It's cute.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Lots of hearts.
Yay. We did it. Love it.
So yeah, I've kind of just finished through with mine, and as you can see now, guys, I've sent it into more of a shag kind of world. I'm going to let it do its thing. I'm going to wet it down, put some stuff in it, let it naturally dry, play with the front a little bit more freehand afterwards, and then we'll post pictures of it and that, so you guys can see you guys can already guess what we've done and see what we've done. So, but yeah, we'll post that up, and I just want to say thank you for joining us.